How do you know the bubble is about to burst? The end is near, because we're old enough to have seen the booms and the busts, and I think we're cruising up to one of the biggest busts in world history. I think we're in a massive bubble right now, and commercial real estate funded by private equity is going to be the biggest hit. Like Australia, I think they have 12 million cranes in the sky right now.
It's crazy.
I walk up and down.
Every single postage stamp of land is being built upon right now.
And it's commercial. It's not a single family, a little guy building a little rental property.
Right.
These are very big projects funded by low interest rates. And I understand the game. But just before the bubble bursts is when all the fruits and fruitcakes the fruit flies come flying out there. What is one of the worst, like 2007 was a great time because you all know it was going to come down because everybody was into flipping real estate, right? So what was one of the worst things you saw, Robert, during that period, just before the crash of 2008?
Well, Russell, remember this. We were at an event, and there was a guy on stage. That's the word he
that's
used.
the word.
I guarantee this property will go up in value. We looked at each other and that's a problem.
Yep.
I remember you talking about how when the gal at the checkout counter at the grocery store is giving you real estate advice, it's too late.
She's just got a real estate license.
Well, that's a clue.
Yeah.
That's a clue.
Or when people couldn't afford a $600 a month rent, but they could go down the street and buy a $300,000 house for nothing down and no qualifying.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And we're there right now. Well,
I think that you had people, remember the days in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah, these condo developers, and you would literally stand in line for the right to buy a property that was overpriced, and you would get in and you'd make your deposit, and the entire game was to control as many of those units as you could with the idea that down the road, even later in the same day, you could flip out of it and make money because of the way these things were being rolled out. And so it was all predicated around this insane demand that had no basis in fundamentals or common sense, but it was like a feeding frenzy, and people got so caught up in it, they stopped thinking. They were like animals feeding and trying to get their place in line. And when you start seeing that, and it happens on the lending side too, lenders become so desperate to loan, they lower the lending guidelines, they raise lower the down payment, raise the LTV, they make it easier and easier to get the loan without providing proper documentation. When you start seeing these things happen in the market, you know that it's this last flurry, like a star that's about to, implode.
And that's in all markets. Like the stock market's I think we're about 2 years out from the stock market doing the same thing. It's just going to get so exciting, and everybody's going to jump.
And are you seeing this happening today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely see it. And the thing is, it can be great because you can take advantage of some of the easy lending to excess equity. You don't have to sell the property to get liquid and be ready for the next thing. But when you do, you just need to make sure you're paying attention to the cash flow. And that's the thing you guys have just been always the thought leaders on.
So, Kim, what's the worst pitch?
Yeah, we don't have enough time. But I do remember those really fat brochures of these new development. Here's this fancy brochure, and they're going to guarantee you an 8% return on your money. Guaranteed.
Nice.
Now I'm like, how do you guarantee an 8% return? And that 8%, they were counting on getting more and more people in to buy so that those people would fund the 8% of the people. So it's kind of a Ponzi scheme.
Yep.
The funniest one I saw is because I'm, the real estate guys, you guys know more about real estate. Kim knows more about real estate than I do. But I do know shipping. So I was down with Trump. This is just before the crash, and this guy had taken an old passenger liner. I go up to this hot young thing, nice brochure, nice hottie, I said, tell me about this. Oh, and she's telling me about how this condo will float through the world and you can get on and get off and all this stuff. And I said, how old is the ship? She didn't know. My degree is in naval architecture. You see, a ship like those, these big passenger liners, they should only exist for 15 years.
Yeah.
Useful lives are finished. So the only place that boat should have gone was not to a condo conversion. It should have been sailed over to Taiwan and cut up for scrap to made into a new boat. But she was selling these condos, and these guys were lining up to buy condos so they could float around the world. And I said, holy mackerel, there's a sucker born every minute. But my thing is the vanity of it. That's what upsets me.
And the other thing is that people just don't know. They don't know what questions to ask. They have no idea. They just get sucked into the deal and sucked into the you're going to make money. Yeah.
And he got so excited listening to talk about real estate. He says, oh, good, I invested in real estate. And then he comes up and he shows Kim, Kenny McElroy, and I the property.
He says, oh, it's a property in New Mexico. It's in New Mexico. Look at the property. It's in New Mexico, and it's going to be really, really good. And we're looking at it. We go, Richard, that's not New Mexico. That's Mexico.
So thank God he got out of it. But wow. Do you know what I mean? Is that's the vanity of it. They just think they want to get rich quick. Yeah. And let's talk about our favorite guy on TV. I mean, I don't know if we should mention his name, but because we'll get sued by these guys. But he was a tiny little Vietnamese guy. And this is how many years ago? 20 years
many years ago. We met him 15 years ago, long afterwards, in his little tiny office in Las Vegas. But he was the guy there for 15 minutes.
He'd be on his yacht with all his pretty women,
pretty girls.
the gold champagne glasses,
you can do it. Yeah.
dancing.
There's a little Asian guy with models and girls who are twice as tall as him and were built like what in little bikinis. And here he is on this yacht pitching a real estate deal.
Yep.
I kind of wondered who showed up at that seminar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, though, you're making a great point about how to recognize a bad deal. When someone has to hype you up on getting rich and this extravagant lifestyles of the rich and famous, they're not talking about the fundamentals of the deal, the fundamentals of the market, what's going on in the economy. All that's boring. I totally get it, right? But if that's what they're relying on to get you to do the deal, they're trying to get you to an emotional state where your brain checks out and you will sign on the dotted line, dreaming, hoping about something that isn't real and not looking at what is real, and you should be paying attention to.
And that's why you've got to get the financial education. You got to start small, take baby steps, know it's a process. It's going to take years, but you can become financially free with cash flow, but it's not a quick fix. There's no
like anything. Like you're not going to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
If you want to get weight off, it takes time. If you want to be healthier, it takes time. If you want to be wealthy, you can do it. Absolutely. It's just slow and steady wins the race.
Yep.
So what kind of programs do you guys put on, the real estate guys?
For years we've taught seminars and things, but we're not really gurus. We're more journalists on our show.
You guys are really fundamental guys.
Yeah, and I think
nuts and bolts, peanut and butter.
That's like we don't have a seminar rarely without an attorney that speaks. That's because you have to have that sobering side. Yes, you can make a lot of money, but there's a lot of work. Our primary thing that we teach now is real estate syndication, how to go bigger, doing bigger
what
deals.
A syndication is.
So rather than buy something just in your own account, if you syndicate, you get together with other folks, and some people put in the time and talent. Other people's money. Some people put in the money. So a passive investor might put $50,000 in a deal, and the syndicator or the sponsor or the promoter is the one who finds the deal, vets the deal, puts together the team. Again, you have to be just as careful as in individual investing, maybe more so. Yeah. But there are attorneys involved. It's professional investors usually.
But you also educate the investors, the
Both
people
sides.
that are you're raising money from. You educate them about the deal,
you bet.
The pros, the cons, all of it, because you don't want stupid people giving you money.
That could be the most, as we say, the most expensive check you ever took is one if they don't understand. So you go through a process to make sure they understand, and you have to make sure it works for them, that it's in line with their goals and with their ability. And so it's not rocket science, but it takes time to figure it out. And there's a lot of legalities around it, right? You're talking about securities laws, but that's not to scare people away. That's to say it's another way that you can, in our world, collapse time frames and be able to build wealth with real estate, passively or actively.
Small ebook, big impact, The Wealth Tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.